You opened the app this morning and saw the notification. $243 in cashback rewards, just sitting there. And honestly, you felt good about it. Like you'd done something smart. Like the credit card was working for you. And maybe you even thought about what you'd do with it. Apply it to the balance. Let it sit and grow. Treat yourself to something small. Whatever it was, the feeling was real. Pride, maybe. Or relief. Like a little proof that you're handling things. And then you paid the minimum, again, because the balance is sitting at around $4,000, and between rent and groceries and the car payment, there just wasn't enough left to wipe it out this month. That feeling, the small win of the rewards sitting right next to the quiet weight of the balance, that's what this video is about. Because a lot of people are living inside that exact tension right now, and almost nobody is talking about what it actually costs. My name is Alex, and I break down how the credit card rewards system actually plays out for people dealing with carrying a balance month after month while still chasing points and cash back. All right, let's walk through the real numbers, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Say you're carrying $4,000 on a credit card. That's not extreme. The average American credit card balance right now is around $6,000, but let's use $4,000 to keep the math clean and honest. The average credit card interest rate in the United States right now is hovering around 24% APR. Some cards go higher, some are around 20, but 24 is realistic for someone who doesn't have excellent credit or who opened a card in the last few years. So here's what that looks like over 12 months if you're making minimum payments and occasionally using the card for everyday purchases. With a $4,000 balance at 24% interest, you're paying roughly $80 per month in interest alone. Not principal, just interest, just the cost of carrying that balance. Over a full year, that's around $960 in interest, nearly $1,000, just for having a balance sit there. Now let's look at the reward side. If your card gives you 2% cash back, which is considered a genuinely good rewards rate, and you're spending $1,500 a month on the card, you're earning $30 a month in cash back, $360 over the full year. And this is the number that surprised me most when I first laid it out clearly. You paid $960 to borrow your own spending power. You earned $360 back from the rewards program. The net result? You're down $600 for the year, not up, down. The rewards program isn't paying you. You're paying the rewards program and the bank to feel like you're winning. But here's where it gets worse, because the way most people naturally use a rewards card nudges spending upward. There's real research showing that payment method changes how we perceive cost. Swiping a card, particularly one that feels premium and gives you points, genuinely reduces the psychological pain of spending. Cash feels real in a way plastic doesn't, and when every purchase feels like it's also earning something, the mental resistance to spending gets softer. So that $1,500 a month you're putting on the card, for a lot of people, it ends up being closer to $1,800 or $2,000 because the rewards framing made a few extra purchases feel justified, which means the balance creeps up, the interest cost goes up, and the math gets worse every month. Let's scale it up, too, because this is important. Say the balance is $6,000, which again is closer to the national average. Same 24% APR. Now your monthly interest charge is around $120. That's $1,440 in interest over a full year. Your 2% cash back on the same spending still earns you $360. Now you're down over $1,000 on the year, not even close to breaking even. And yet, the rewards notification still feels like a win every time it comes through. There's one more piece of the math that almost never gets mentioned. Let's say you've had this card for 3 years with an average balance around $4,000. Over that window, you've paid roughly $2,800 in interest. You've earned maybe $1,000 in cash back over the same period. That's a real net cost of about $1,800, not for anything, just for carrying that balance while using a rewards card. That money didn't disappear. It went straight to the bank's bottom line.
Here's what I want you to understand. None of this means you made a dumb decision by getting a rewards card.
The credit card industry has spent decades and billions of dollars designing these products to feel like a good deal. The marketing is sophisticated, the psychology is intentional, and the fine print is written in a way that most people only read once, if ever. The rewards credit card was originally designed for a specific type of person, someone who pays their balance in full every single month, every time without exception. For that person, the 2% cash back is basically free money. They were going to spend that money anyway. The card is just giving them a small percentage back with zero interest cost attached. But that is not how most Americans use their credit cards. According to data from the Federal Reserve, roughly half of American credit card holders carry a balance from month to month. Half. And among people who describe themselves as responsible with money, people who budget, people who think carefully about their finances, people who probably watch videos like this one, a significant portion still carry a balance at least some months of the year. The product was marketed to everyone. The math only works for a minority, and that's not an accident. The revenue model of a credit card company depends heavily on interest income from people who carry balances. The rewards are funded in large part by that interest. So in a very direct sense, if you're carrying a balance and earning rewards, you are part of the group that funds the system, not the group that benefits from it. It also helps to understand where the rewards money comes from on the merchant side. Every time you swipe a rewards card, the merchant pays a higher interchange fee to the payment processor. That cost gets quietly folded into the prices of goods and services. So everyone, including people who pay cash, pays slightly more so that rewards cardholders can get their 2% back. The reward system effectively redistributes money from lower income and cash-paying consumers toward higher income, better credit rewards users. The people who can least afford it end up subsidizing the perks of people who could already afford it. And here's the part that nobody really talks about. The rewards program is not a passive feature sitting on top of the card. It is a behavioral design system. The points, the tiers, the rotating cashback categories, the sign-on bonuses, the spend thresholds to unlock higher rewards, all of it is carefully calibrated to increase engagement, increase spending, and increase the likelihood of a balance being carried. Not because credit card companies are villains, because they are businesses operating in a competitive market, and their revenue depends on you spending more than you otherwise would. Your brain is not broken for responding to this system. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's just that the system was built to work against your financial interest.
So why does this keep happening? Why do so many intelligent, financially aware people continue using rewards cards in ways that end up costing them money? Part of it is what psychologists call optimism bias. When you open a new rewards card, your mental model is that you will be the person who pays it off every month. You see yourself as disciplined enough to work the system. And in the beginning, you probably are. But life is unpredictable. An unexpected expense hits, a rough month happens, the balance doesn't get paid off, and suddenly you're in the interest trap. But you've already been conditioned by months of swiping, to keep earning those points, because stopping would feel like giving something up. There's also something that functions like a sunk cost feeling. Once you've got a balance you can't immediately wipe out, there's a quiet logic that goes something like this. The card is already costing me, so I might as well keep earning points on it, at least get something back. But that reasoning is exactly what keeps the cycle going. The points you're earning are fractional compared to the interest being charged. Continuing to optimize for rewards while carrying a balance is like worrying about gas mileage while the engine is on fire. And this is where things quietly change, when you start to see the emotional function that rewards are actually serving. For a lot of people, the rewards notification is one of the only moments in a difficult financial month where it feels like something is going in the right direction. When money is tight and the balance is high and the paycheck doesn't quite cover everything, that $30 cash back update feels like control, like evidence that you are managing things, that you're smart, that it's not all slipping away. That emotional function is real. It's doing something important. but it's also costing you money to feel it. There's a concept in behavioral economics called reward substitution, when a smaller, more immediate reward takes the place of a larger, more delayed one. The cashback notification is a perfect example of it. The real reward, being debt-free, having financial breathing room, not dreading the statement, is far away and abstract. The rewards notification is right now, and it feels good. So the brain reaches for the immediate one, every time. Understanding that doesn't make you weak. It makes you more honest about what's actually happening. If you take nothing else from this video, take this one thing. The reward system is not neutral. It is designed by very smart people with very large research budgets to shape your behavior in ways that benefit the company offering the card. Knowing that doesn't mean you can never use a rewards card. It means you can use one with open eyes instead of through the lens of the marketing. The only math where a rewards card genuinely works in your favor is when you pay the full balance every single month before any interest accrues. Not almost every month without exception. If that is truly how you use your card, 2% cash back is a real, low-effort benefit with no meaningful cost attached to it. But if you are in a period of life where carrying a balance is a realistic possibility or a current reality, the honest move is to stop thinking about rewards entirely and redirect that mental energy toward reducing interest. That might look like a balance transfer to a 0% promotional card. It might mean a personal loan at a lower rate. It might just mean being ruthlessly focused on paying the balance down before anything else. Not because you failed, but because the math is clear and the math matters more than the points. You don't have to give up on rewards forever. You just have to know what game you're actually playing right now. And if there's a balance on the card, the game is interest, not rewards.
If you want one concrete place to start, it's the honest math. Pull up your last 3 statements, add up everything you paid in interest, and compare that number to everything you earned in rewards over the same period. Just the numbers, no story, no justification, just the truth of what the card actually cost versus what it gave back. Most people have never done that calculation, not because they're irresponsible, but because it's uncomfortable, and because the system is designed to keep that comparison invisible. The interest charge is buried in a statement. The rewards balance is front and center in the app. If the interest is winning, and for a lot of people it is, let that become your one clear priority. Not budgeting overhauls, not investment accounts, not optimizing cashback categories, just bringing the balance down, one focused month at a time. And if you're someone who genuinely pays in full every month, and the cash back truly is free money, keep going. You've found one of the few real edges in consumer finance. Just stay honest with yourself about it. If this video made something clearer for you, or made you a little uncomfortable in a useful way, I'd genuinely love to hear from you in the comments. What does your relationship with a rewards card actually look like? No judgment here. This is complicated on purpose. If you found this helpful, subscribing means you'll see more videos like this. Honest, grounded breakdowns of the financial realities that most people are quietly navigating every day. And if this one resonated, sharing it might be the most useful thing you do for someone you know today. Thank you for watching.